So does 190 millimeters of travel both front and rear paired with a 90 Newton meter torque motor on an Italian-made frame pique your fancy? Well, stay tuned to learn all about the Fantic XEF 1.9. Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode in our Dissected series, this time brought to you by Fantic. Today we are going to learn all about the BROSE Powered XEF 1.9. So Fantic has been producing motorcycles since 1968, and in 2015 they stepped into the e-bike world with their full product line. In fact, they were actually the first brand to introduce a mixed wheel setup on e-bikes with the XF1. They have a dedicated e-bike facility just outside Milan where they design, test, and assemble all their models. Instead of bringing a plain off-the-shelf frame to market, Fantic draws on their over 50 years of experience in motorcycle design and engineering to produce a unique market offering that is solely their own. They now offer 11 different models ranging from commuters to 200 millimeter self-shuttle DH rigs. All right, enough faffing about. Let's dive into the details on the drive unit behind this XEF 1.9. The XEF 1.9 features a BROSE SMEG 36 drive unit that delivers 90 Newton meters of torque and 720 watts of peak power with 250 watts of continuous power, giving you 410% boost in rider assistance with an overall drive unit weight of 6.17 pounds or 2.8 kg. This belt-driven drive unit has been around since 2018, but has received significant running model changes, improving durability and efficiency. The handlebar remote shows both remaining battery life as well as power modes with a rocker button to toggle between assistance levels. Fantic has gone with a 720 watt removable battery. Inside this battery there are 40 individual cells and can be charged on or off the bike using the Rosenberg charge port. This battery design was used to help keep the center of gravity lower slung on the frame, improving overall ride quality. The XEF 1.9 comes in a total of 3 sizes, that is small, medium, and large. Our size large here weighs in at 58 pounds, has an aluminum frame, aluminum chainstays, but features a carbon seat stay. Fantic has placed more of an emphasis on overall ride quality and ride design rather than hitting a specific weight number with the build. This size large features a conservative 469 millimeter reach, 459 millimeter chainstays, a 64.5 degree head tube angle, and a 76.5 degree seat tube angle. The head tube and seat tube angles are the same across the entire size range. The stack comes in at 642 millimeters, rounded off with a 1,281 millimeter wheelbase. To note, there are no flip chips or geometry adjustments found on the frame. Out back, delivering that 190 mil of rear travel is Fantic's very own full float system. The shock is not attached to the frame at either end, but rather the upper shock mount is on the rocker link while the lower shock mount attaches at the chainstay. Essentially, this is a linkage-driven single pivot, but with a floating shock design. The design can be easily tuned and modified by changing the dimensions of the rocker link to suit the bike's characteristics. This design ethos is shared across all of Fantic's longer travel e-bikes. For 2025, there are 3 different models available, 2 with the aluminum frame and 1 carbon frame variant. Our 1.9 factory here comes in at $7,390 US. The lower spec 1.9 race lands in at $7,190, while the carbon frame team level build is $7,990. Our 1.9 factory build is spec'd with a RockShox Ultimate Zeb up front, and that is an 190 mil travel variant. Out back there is a Öhlins TTX 22M shock. The wheels are Mavic ED Maxes paired with Vittoria E Mazda tires with a 2.6 up front and a 2.8 out back. The bike features SRAM's GX Axis drivetrain and Crank Brothers 125mm highline dropper. The stopping power is delivered by braking Inca's 2-piston brakes matched with a 220mm rotor up front and a 203 out back. Lastly, the cockpit is an all in-house Fantic affair with their bar, stem, grip, and headset. Full build specs on this model and the other 2 models available can be found on Fantic's website. And while you're there, check out their motorcycles. I fancy the Caballero 500 Rally. That thing is sweet. How do we get to review one of those? Come on, Fantic, let us have some fun. Well, with all the details and the specs out of the way, there's only one thing left to do, and that's dive into how this thing felt out on the trails. When it came to getting the bike set up and ready to ride, it was a pretty straightforward affair. I opted for 72 PSI in the ZEB with compression dead in the middle and rebound fast for the cold temps we've been having. The 457-pound spring out back that came stock with the bike was a bit undersprung for my liking, so I increased this to the 503-pound option, which yielded much more mid-stroke support and less harsh bottom-out moments. The low-speed compression was ran in the middle at 8 clicks from closed, and depending on the terrain I was riding, I either ran the 3-position high-speed compression dial in position 1 or 2. I found that I favored position 1 for most of the trails I frequented, and when I was hitting more flowy jump-style trails, I opted for position 2. As far as tire pressure goes, I stayed at 28 out back and 25 up front. The 720 watt-hour battery had plenty of juice for 4,000 feet of climbing with 2 more bars of life to spare. The drive unit hummed peacefully in the background and was not obtrusive. It only increased in sound at lower cadence with higher loads. The feeling of the drive unit was natural and predictable, and the initial bite rolled in smoothly, which at times had me wishing for more power, but I believe that is partially due to my preference for slower cadences and the overall 58-pound bike weight. With that said, however, the bike did crank me up pretty much everything I pointed at except for one very, very steep clay slick hillslide cue funny clip here. But overall, the climbing position and overall seated position on this bike when spending long hours in the saddle was super comfortable, and I would not shy away from all-day epics on this bike at all. This video is sponsored and brought to you in partnership with Fantic. With that said, our riding impressions will be kept short, but stay tuned for our unbiased opinion in the long-term review. But until then, I just wanted to give you a few key highlights of the things I felt while riding the XEF 1.9. All right, the moment you've all been waiting for, the most important part: how does this bike handle the descents? Well, there's no mistaking how well the full float suspension design actually works through seriously rough terrain. The bike's added weight helped it feel glued to the ground over chunk, especially in part due to those long 459mm chainstays. However, on the other hand, I was quite surprised at how much pop the bike really offered. It by no means had a dead or sluggish feeling when pulling up for a gap. Once up to speed, the bike handled everything I threw at it, and I was pleasantly surprised at how well it reacted when I ran out of talent. There's definitely a lot of room for air, especially with that 190mm both front and rear. With the long chainstays and overall bike weight, I think Fantic made the right call in going with a mixed wheel setup on this bike. That 275 out back allowed the bike to remain snappy around tight corners as much as a long wheelbase, long chainstay bike can be, especially one that has 190mm of travel. We're really not worried about having to make up for a lack of travel on this thing with a bigger 29-inch rear wheel, so that 275 out back is a perfect fit. So, who is this bike for? If you're looking for a bike that's comfortable at high speeds and have some terrain with huge features and G-outs, the XEF 1.9's 190mm of travel will get the job done with ease. The quickly swappable and efficient battery means you can be out all day with no range anxiety to be had. Big thanks goes out to Fantic for making this dissected feature happen. If you have any questions on the 1.9, any of the other models in Fantic's lineup, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. I have tons of ride time on this bike already this year, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you and kind of giving you the down low on a bike that's rarely seen here in the US. Until next time, we'll see you out on the trails.